What if the world suddenly decided you mattered, not because you won a trophy, not because you scored the winning goal, not because you were the best, but simply because someone pointed at you and said, "That one." In May 2026, a 32-year-old defender from Auckland, New Zealand was going about his quiet life, playing for Wellington Phoenix, fewer than 5,000 followers on Instagram. Unknown to almost every football fan on the planet, his name is Tim Payne, and then everything changed. Within 48 hours, his followers went from 4,000 to over 1 million. Within a week, 4 million. More than any NHL team, more than the entire New Zealand Football Association. But here's what this story is really about. It is not about Instagram. It is not about going viral. It is about what happens inside a human mind when the world suddenly asks everything of you, and you were never prepared for it. Welcome to Unravelled Minds. Today, we unravel the psychology of Tim Payne. Before the internet found him, Tim Payne had already built something remarkable. He grew up in Auckland, New Zealand, a country where rugby is religion and football is a distant second thought. He played in the FIFA U17 World Cup in Mexico in 2011. He represented New Zealand at the 2012 London Olympics. He made his senior international debut that same year in a win against Honduras. He played for Blackburn Rovers in England, for Portland Timbers in MLS, for Wellington Phoenix in Australia's A-League, over 140 appearances. In March 2026, he earned his 51st cap for the All Whites in a historic 4-1 win over Chile, New Zealand's first ever victory against a South American national team. 50 international caps, 15 years of professional football, a broken collarbone in October 2025, and a recovery to make the World Cup squad, and almost nobody knew his name. Psychologist Abraham Maslow, in his hierarchy of human needs, described something called esteem, the need to be seen, to be valued, to matter. For 15 years, Tim Payne showed up, did the work, earned the caps, and received almost none of that external esteem in return. That kind of quiet perseverance without recognition is rarer than most people realize. In late May 2026, an Argentine content creator named Wellington Cialdini, known online as El Scarso, asked his followers a question. What if we found the least known player at the World Cup and made him the most loved? His audience searched. They landed on Tim Payne, 4,000 followers, no viral moments, no highlight reels trending on social media. Just a professional doing his job, quietly, for over a decade. Cialdini told his followers, "We have to start mentioning Tim Payne everywhere. We need to make the least known player the star of the World Cup." And the internet, for once, decided to do something beautiful. Social psychologist Robert Cialdini, in his landmark book Influence, describes a principle called social proof, the idea that humans look to others to determine what is correct, what is valuable, what deserves attention. When one person says this matters and enough others follow, it creates a cascade that feels unstoppable. That is exactly what happened to Tim Payne. But here's what makes his story different from every other viral moment. He didn't chase it, he didn't manufacture it, he just showed up for 15 years, and the world finally looked. New Zealand are ranked 75th in the world, the lowest ranked team at the 2026 World Cup. They are going to their first World Cup since 2010, only their third ever. They face Iran, Egypt, and Belgium in Group G. On paper, almost no chance of advancing, and yet, psychologist Carol S. Dweck, whose work on growth mindset we explored in our first episode on Cristiano Ronaldo, makes an important distinction. A fixed mindset says the outcome is already decided. A growth mindset says the process is what matters. For a player like Tim Payne, the World Cup was never guaranteed to end in glory. But the journey to get there, the 50 caps, the broken collarbone, the years in leagues most fans never watch, that journey required something profound. Psychologist Angela Duckworth, in her book Grit, defines the quality that separates long-term achievers from those who quit early. It is not talent, it is not intelligence, it is grit, the combination of passion and perseverance toward a long-term goal, even when no one is watching, even when no one cares. For over a decade, Tim Payne was the definition of grit. He kept going when New Zealand football offered him no spotlight. He kept going when the A-League was not the Premier League. He kept going when 4,000 Instagram followers was the world's way of saying, "We don't really see you." And he kept going anyway. Now, here's where it gets psychologically fascinating. Most people spend their lives wanting to be seen, visualizing recognition, craving the moment. Tim Payne never asked for this. And when it came at overwhelming speed. Millions of strangers, dozens of countries. A pressure that no training session, no tactical briefing, no sports psychologist session could have prepared him for. His response? He picked up his phone, recorded a simple video, thanked his new followers, stayed himself. That video got 3.2 million likes. Psychiatrist Viktor Frankl, in Man's Search for Meaning, wrote that the last of the human freedoms is the ability to choose your response to any situation. Tim Payne could have been overwhelmed. He could have performed. He could have tried to become someone the internet wanted him to be. Instead, he chose authenticity. And paradoxically, that is exactly why the internet loved him even more. Psychologist Brené Brown, in The Gifts of Imperfection, argues that what human beings are most drawn to is not perfection. It is wholehearted authenticity, the courage to show up as you are, without armor, without performance. A 32-year-old defender from Auckland, genuinely confused and genuinely grateful, saying thank you on a phone camera. That is wholehearted. And the world felt it. Here is the deeper question this story forces us to ask. Why Tim Payne? There are thousands of professional footballers at this World Cup. Many of them are anonymous. Many of them have the same quiet dedication. But the internet chose Tim. Psychologist Jonathan Haidt, in The Righteous Mind, describes how human beings are fundamentally tribal creatures. We are hardwired to find a group, to rally behind something, to build identity around shared stories. The story El Scarso created was irresistible. It was a story about the forgotten one, about the underdog, about the idea that dedication without recognition is the purest form of dedication there is. And it was an invitation not just to follow Tim Payne, but to be part of something together. Millions of strangers from Argentina, from New Zealand, from countries who have never even met, united behind a man they had never heard of. Because the story of Tim Payne is, in a way, the story of everyone who has ever worked hard without being seen. And that is almost all of us. On June 15th, 2026, New Zealand opened their World Cup campaign against Iran in Los Angeles. Tim Payne, who spent 15 years building a quiet career, will walk out in front of a global audience. Not just football fans, 4 million people who followed him because someone on the internet decided he deserved to be seen. What happens in a human mind in that moment? Sports psychologist Michael Gervais, who has worked with some of the world's greatest performers, talks about the concept of present moment focus, the ability to silence the noise, the past career, the viral moment, the expectations, and focus on just this, the pitch, the ball, the next action. That is what Tim Payne will need. Not the version of himself the internet created, not the symbol, not the folk hero, just a footballer, doing what he has done for 15 years. And perhaps that is the most powerful psychological insight in this entire story. The fame was never the point. The work was always the point. The fame just finally caught up. Tim Payne did not become interesting when 4 million people followed him. He was always interesting. He was interesting in 2011 at the U-17 World Cup in Mexico, chasing a dream most New Zealanders never believed in. He was interesting in 2025, coming back from a broken collarbone to fight for a World Cup squad spot. He was interesting every single Tuesday morning when he woke up and trained and no one in Argentina knew his name. The internet did not create Tim Payne. The internet just finally looked, and what it found was a man who had been quietly extraordinary the whole time. So here's the question Unravelled Minds always ends with. Who in your life has been quietly extraordinary, without recognition? And more importantly, are you building something that matters even when no one is watching? Because the world has a habit of eventually looking. The question is whether you will still be there, still working, still showing up, still being yourself when it does. Subscribe to Unravelled Minds. Next week, we unravel another extraordinary mind.